Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On This from Off the Cuff. Now this video has been a long time coming. It is essentially the full review of my SJE073 or the SARA015 depending on where you're located. So essentially I've been meaning to do a full review on this watch, but at this point it's kind of the long-term review. So this, as far as the format goes, is going to be a little bit different than your average review. Hopefully I don't ramble on too long, so I'll just jump straight to it. Now this is of course a Seiko. This brand was founded back in 1881. They are Japanese in origin and now have factories throughout Asia. One of the really great and interesting things about the brand Seiko is that they cover all market segments from entry level to high end. Now about this particular type of watch, I would consider this an everyday watch. Some key common characteristics and design language when you're looking for an everyday watch is, of course, you're going to kind of want that versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes, which I think this particular watch nails. This is, of course, a limited edition Presage SJE073, which is basically the global nomenclature. But then if you're in Japan, this is known as the SARA015. It is limited to 1,881 pieces, which, of course, is significant because Seiko was founded back in 1881. This is kind of known as that baby snowflake from the Grand Seiko line with that SJE011. Of course, this does bear more than a passing resemblance to the Seiko Presage SARA015, which is also titanium, like the Grand Seiko model. Now this particular one though is in stainless steel, which is great. It's actually quite thin, has this really cool movement called the 6L35, which has quite a history, which we'll get into a little bit more in the once we get this in hand and take a kind of a gander at it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get our hands on and take a closer look. Okay, so as you can see, this piece is really absolutely stunning. It does have that great kind of frosted washi paper style dial, and it's definitely executed to a higher level than the SARA015. Now I have done comparison videos between the two. Make sure you check out the channel. I really want to just stay focused on the SJE for this particular video, but if you are interested to kind of see the key differences, definitely check that video out. Now this watch, of course, is 40 millimeters in diameter, and it's only 9.8 millimeters in height, so just under 10 millimeters thick. And this thing wears very, very thin and svelte because although it is thin, it actually uses all of Seiko's tricks that they've kind of had to develop for all their thicker, generally thick watches, to make them wear thinner. The nice thing is this watch is actually thinner, but still uses the same tricks, which makes it wear even thinner and appear a bit thinner, which is great. Now, one of the beautiful things about this watch, also it's a 46 millimeters, 46.3 technically, lug to lug, stainless steel with Dia Shield coating, really, really great. Now, the kind of key thing here is this movement, which is known as the 6L35. And this is the first model that's had this movement, which is great. Of course, this isn't the first iteration of this movement. It started out its life as a 4L25 and then eventually was jazzed up to the 4L75, and it's spent time in other Seikos and also Creedor models, and even spawned a Swiss-made version of the same design, essentially, known as the Soprod A10. So this is a great movement. One of the nice things is it's quite thin. Also, it has that higher beat movement with the 8 ticks per second, which is 4 hertz. So it's going to have your smoother tick than your average Seiko, which is really, really a beautiful thing. Now, the retail on these is actually $2,200, and the crazy thing is, what I'm going to tell you is that's actually a bargain for what you're getting, and it's going to be even more of a bargain when you find out what Seiko plans to charge for their upcoming 6L35 powered watches, which should be coming out sometime this year and will be readily available in the fall. Now, this thing really, the story here is the combination of everything. You have that classic Grand Seiko aesthetic. You have this beautiful signature dial here. There's nothing like it on the market that doesn't have a Seiko brand on it. So this thing is really quite gorgeous. As you can see, as I bring it closer, you really can get an idea of the textures and the fine lines that are there. Really just a stunning piece. I love the thinness here. Even though this is steel, it's actually quite thin, which keeps the watch really nice and light. Let's go ahead and get it on the wrist and show you guys how it wears though. Okay, as you can see on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, this wears just about perfect. Of course, when you get in a little bit closer for a wristy, the lens distortion and whatnot is going to make it appear bigger and a little bit more bulbous on wrist. But even at this range here, you can still get an idea of just how perfectly well this watch wears. Super thin, infinitely comfortable, just gorgeous. I love the Dia Shield coating on here. It just gives this steel, which is very finely brushed and Zaratsu polished. It really just tops it off and helps this thing feel extremely special. Now, with what I mentioned with the 6L35, I'll actually try to show you guys really quickly because essentially Seiko's coming out with 2 new models here where they're actually going to be featuring 6L35s, and they won't have a bracelet. They're going to be on you know, an alligator strap, actually I believe crocodile, and they're gonna have enamel dials, which is great. But if you look here, those hands are not even thermally blued. They're just colored like the standard Presage models, which I found to be very interesting. Now you can see it is a nice curved enamel dial, excellently executed, beautiful aesthetic, but those hands aren't thermally blued. Here your second's hand is 100% thermally blued, so you have that beautiful consistency in you know, in the finish there, versus here where you can see some areas are a bit thicker, some are a little bit thinner. So of course here you can see the model numbers. This is the SJE075 and the SJE077 for that blue dial. Really gorgeous pieces, don't get me wrong, and I definitely want them, mostly for this fact. One, they're 39 millimeters, so they're going to be slightly smaller than the SJE073 here, special edition, or I should say limited edition. And also here we have a flat sapphire crystal, versus here we're going to have that beautiful domed, which is really, really great. And of course it's going to be thinner, and oh, let me go back here. So it's going to be thinner, definitely, and then it's going to adopt a little bit more of a cupcake style crown, versus here, you know, a bit more standard, but I think obviously goes more with the flow of this watch. So what they're offering here is a nice option, and I'm really excited to see that. But one thing that's part of Seiko's new US market strategy is really key in on the luxury side and the higher end side, because let's face it, their lower end stuff that sells at malls and ADs here in the States really isn't showcasing some of their best stuff. It's, you know, a lot of the just kind of chintzy sports watches that are great day to day, but really don't show what Seiko can do. And I think what they're really focusing on is keying in on those models that really highlight their skill and craftsmanship. And with this particular model here, they're doing that, and the price, there's going to be a premium to go with it. This thing's going to is looking now to retail closer to $3,300 versus $2,200 And this is on bracelet. You know, I'm sure this will actually, I think one of the nice things this will have is probably it's going to be a genuine crocodile strap. And of course it's going to have this beautiful domed sapphire, but the hands won't be blued and it won't be on a bracelet. So, you know, from that standpoint, I think you got to see that this thing, one, it's limited, right? The other ones, they haven't mentioned the new models, if they're going to be limited or not. I don't believe they will be. They're going to be kind of a staple in the line until they're discontinued. Here, limited to 1881, and then obviously 1881 is a hugely significant number. And you can find these for, you know, retail or less than retail. I was very fortunate to get mine quite a bit less than retail because I took advantage of some outstanding rates and some exchange rates by buying from Canada from an AD there, Bezel House. And I've actually mentioned them quite a bit in the original unboxing review. So amazing, you know, if you're in North America, you can definitely get a decent deal. Still, the thing is, we're very used to certain things in America is getting great deals on Seikos because the exchange rate of yen to US dollars. Now that Seiko is actually pushing many of these models to be global models versus just JDM, now a lot of those dealers, of course, we can't take advantage of that exchange rate as much because there's US variants that they're charging more for, and the dealers know it, so they can easily get away with charging you the US dollar price versus just an exchange version. So the days of getting the SARBs for 300 and under are gone. So if you really want a high quality Seiko, you're going to be paying $500, $600, $700, $1,200 for it now. And you know what? I don't mind that. We were very lucky and very fortunate. But honestly, the newer ones that are coming out are nicer in pretty much every way. You can't compare a SARB 035 to this watch. And I mean, you shouldn't. You can't compare it even to the SARX 055. You can't. A SARB versus a SARX, I mean, the SARB is just hands down a better watch. It's a little bit larger, which is a different argument to be made. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a better watch and it's going to cost more. And because the brand is focusing more on their kind of global marketing strategy, you know, the prices, they have to come up. It's just the way it is. And they should. A brand, if they're going to be successful, they should reap the spoils of that success. And do I think this new model that's going to come out, you know, these new SJE models or even some of the newer standard models here in the Presage line are actually going to be quite more expensive. This is a ceramic dial, but no, I'm sorry, porcelain dial. These are going to be quite expensive as well, being closer to, I believe, $1,800. Really a nice piece. And then also they've upgraded the 6R15 now to the 6R35 and giving it a 70-hour power reserve, which I think is great. So there's definitely a lot that's going on as far as Seiko and focusing and keying in on some of their more higher end offerings and whatnot. I'll probably do another video where I just go through this 2019 catalog and give you guys my thoughts and whatnot. But there's definitely a lot to unpackage there, and so definitely look forward to that. If you guys want to chat with me or see that video, definitely talk to me about it in the comments below. But with that said, let's actually go ahead and close this down with some low light transition shots. Okay, so normally my hot studio lights do a great job of simulating direct sunlight, but with, you know, in all honesty, although this watch doesn't have any lume on it, you know, it's not the most indicative representation when you have these bright lights on there that are going to simulate you being like out in the middle of a park. A lot of times you're going to be coming in and outdoors, in and out of your vehicle, and as you can see, this dial is absolute magic. And this finishing, look at the way the light plays on the links there. That brushing is so fine, so uniform. Look at the way the light just dances off. Absolutely gorgeous. This piece is stunning and definitely really one of the crown pieces in my watch collection. One that I love and I would probably never sell or trade because it is just that good. This piece is gorgeous. And even if we come in nice and hot and really get the light on it directly, you can see this thing still just has that beautiful sheen to it, this play of light. This piece, I mean, I love it. I could look at it forever. The really nice thing is that I also own a SARA015, so I can actually wear that a lot of the times and get pretty close to the same feeling without risking banging it up, which is great. And then I also have there's a cocktail time snowflake dial that I wear to the next level of I can be a little bit more rough and tumble with and not worry about the fact that it's an expensive piece, although it is quite limited. You know, I've owned this piece for a while. I've worn it in various situations, and one thing that I love about this watch is that I always am excited to talk about it when I wear it. I'm really proud to have it. It's a gorgeous piece. People who know nothing about watches have been like wanting to grab my wrist, get a closer look at this thing. And then of course people who know about watches for the most part will think this is either a Grand Seiko or a SARA015. Either way, they're pleasantly surprised that it's actually something even more special. Yeah, and it is more special than a Grand Seiko because, one, it's the first watch to carry this movement, the SJE073. So it is the picture when you open up your you know, your catalog or the little, so let's just say your owner's manual of how to operate a SJE073. The picture in there is of this watch, which is killer. I've only had that with one other Seiko, and it's that great Mecha Quartz watch that I have, and I absolutely love that the user manual for that movement is the watch itself that I own. So I just think that that's something special. Also limited to 1,881 pieces. Another thing that makes it really special. It wears so perfectly on wrist. You know, it's compact, but it has plenty of wrist presence. Of course, it lays flatter and thinner than the SARC's variant. And it basically is, there's nothing that's carried over. If you didn't watch my other video where I compared them side by side, there's nothing that's carried over. Not even the material for the dial. The style of dial, yes, but the material and the execution here is just that much better. This has really higher end finishing and design, you know, plus it has the Seiko in-house movement, that hard coat technology, perfect proportions. You have the sleek silhouette. It really just exudes a sense of luxury that's really unheard of in that sub $3,500 range. And even then, with the future SJE models that are going to be coming out, you're still, I mean, still, it's, you know, that 3,300, those things are going to be killer too as well. So it's insane you can get this thing for 2,200 bucks, and that's like the retail suggested price. This is the type of watch I'm sure will be charged more for them. There are already outlets that are charging more for it. You know, you'll see places charging $3,000, $5,000 for these. To me, it's only going to go up. So if you can still get one of these at $2,200 or less, of course, it's still a killer deal and a steal. If you were planning on getting one of those newer Presage models with the 6L movement, consider this one because it has a bracelet. It has thermally blued hand, the seconds hand, and then it also, you know, has a bracelet. So that's just, for me, that's a value add. And it's limited. So there's just a lot there that I think that this offers and makes it kind of the smarter choice over those other models. If you can afford to have both, then, you know, go on right ahead, baller. That's great. But if you had to choose between the two, I think this definitely has a much better value proposition there. And I think this thing is just going to be one of those great milestones, stepping stones in the history of Seiko watches, and especially in the Presage line. This is really a true milestone for them. They've stepped it up to the next level, and they're offering things in this line that they have never offered in the past. Thermally blued hand, and then of course this movement. So really beautifully done. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you're not already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.